window, 7,
Oh, sorry.
7:30 to 9:30. I get over there. It's just breakfast. I was like, wow. I
Yeah,
That's
I
nice.
just,
noticed that there were, yeah, some of these offsites were not next door, you know.
yeah, yeah. And no content. I left the building and didn't get any content. It was, yeah.
Oh. And next door in Vegas can be a quarter of a mile.
Oh, yeah. Paris
Yeah,
isn't even next
no
door.
kidding.
Right.
Yeah.
Cab
Yeah,
ride.
get an Uber.
Yeah. Yeah.
How was it for you, John Anderson?
It was fine. I mean, the show continues to sort of shrink, and so I think we're all dealing with that. Hopefully, they'll figure out a better winning formula in the years to come.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was what, 40%, if I remember the number, new attendees. It was a really big number.
They said 60 new net new, but
Net
they
new,
obviously
sorry.
lost a ton of East Coast traffic. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so supposedly I had heard offline that a full 40% of those that were going to Orlando were from Florida.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense, you know. So, and I think, you know, for those of us that needed to be at both shows in some form, right? HIMSS was right next door. And I think that took away from some of the attendance at Enterprise Connect because that show's
Well,
massive.
Informa clearly did very little to try to tie the two shows together.
Yeah, and actually I heard they're not together next year. I
No, they're
heard,
not. Hims is in Chicago in April.
yeah.
I mean, and Informa literally told me, well, we didn't have that much time. You had a year.
We knew a year ago. You probably knew
Right.
before that. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, they're transitioning to new people too, right? We had a new MC this year, right?
I
True.
Um,
loved him.
Justin.
I thought I loved him.
Justin, yeah, he was great. Yeah.
I loved the energy. It's amazing backstage because I was back there a couple of times in the green,
Hmm.
whatever. Very focused, keeping everybody up to date.
Hmm.
He was very organized, very focused. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then Eric kept floating around and, you know, getting people in and making sure that, you know, for those sessions that were semi-private, that only those that could go in. So, yeah, I had a session with about 14 end user customers who just it was a lockdown. You couldn't be a vendor, you couldn't be anybody but a decision maker. So it was very cool. Yeah, so they've had that before. I didn't, you know, I wasn't aware of that, but yeah. Well, actually, I did one years and years ago, but I guess they reinvented it and I guided them with, you know, specific topics and boy, yeah, no one held back.
Good.
So it was, yeah, it was very, and it was a full hour, which kind of blew me out. So, which was great. So, well, I know people keep joining, so, but it is 12:05. So, thanks, John. Thanks, Sheila, for being on and being our infamous guest speakers today. Thank you, Fran, for organizing this, Fran Blackburn, of course. And thanks everybody for being on. So let me share my screen here and we will get started. So, John, you have your slide deck, right?
Yes. Do you want me to just
Okay,
share my
cool.
screen?
Yeah, no, not yet. I'll give
Okay.
you the share when it's time, okay?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So, hold on. I'm still sharing here. Okay, so I'm assuming everybody can see this. Okay. Yeah, so I
We
Not
just
just
have
yet.
see
some.
we just see black. Oh,
There
there
we
you go.
go. There we
Okay,
go.
cool. Cool. Okay, great. Thanks. So, there's a couple of introductory slides here. So, the first thing that we always do, sorry, before we get to that. So, today is all about how AI economics and consumers will shape the future of CX, which I think is just such a timely topic. And we've got, of course, Sheila McGee-Smith as well as John Anderson from 5 9, and this should be a great one. So I'm looking forward to that. So I have two polling questions. They're very informal today. Sheila, you have to promise not to laugh, okay?
Okay.
Okay, you have to do one of these. No, I'll show you why, okay? So here's here are two pictures right here. Here are two pictures right here. Okay. And I'm going to hit the polling questions right now.
Hmm.
And I want to ask you these two questions based upon these two. Why is this not going? Come on, polls. Oh, here we go. Finally, it's taking a while. Okay. So here's the first question. Okay. The first question is, what is the picture of the collie? Is it Lassie celebrating St. Patrick's Day or my puppy Caesar celebrating St. Patrick's Day or other? Please vote. Okay, so who said Lassie?
Oh,
Okay.
very nice. I like the scarf.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so here, let me share the results. And of course, it's, my dog Caesar where we are right now. So thanks for that. Let me get to the next one. And th this is actually a better question. It's taking a second here. Hold on. I did share the results, right? Did everybody see the
Yeah.
Yeah,
results?
you
Yeah,
thought.
okay, cool. Okay, thanks. And the second question, come on, computer.
Is
Just
the
give me a
other picture
second.
you wearing your St. Patrick's Day clothes, Steve?
It's not me. No, 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 no. It's actually, oh shoot, that's not right either. Hold on one second. Why is this doing this? Anyway, the second question is because oh, here it is. I got it now. Okay. So the second question is, what is the picture of the green shoes? Is it Dorothy's latest emerald slippers from the new Wizard of Oz production of the Sphere in Las Vegas? Or is it Sheila McGee Smith sharing her latest apparel yesterday on St. Patrick's Day? Or other. Oh, there's another.
Well, actually, other is a viable answer because it's not new. I've had those shoes for since 2017.
Oh,
And
okay.
since I only wear them once a year, they still look really good. So
They, they look great.
apparently, these are Brooks, and I think they make a new version every year.
Oh,
I
wow.
kind of like these with the gold highlights. It'll go with my gold lame jacket I picked up in Vegas.
Yeah, there was a lot of walking. Holy cow. Well, here, let me share the results real quick on share. And yeah, I found walking within the property wasn't bad, right? From room to room, that was okay.
Yeah,
But
everything
once
was
you got off
flat.
the
Yeah.
property, yeah, it was and gosh, I had to go to Hims a couple of times and it was just took forever to get over even to the Venetian. So anyway, sorry, I'm trying to share these results here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so actually one person voted for Dorothy and another person voted for other. Okay, does anybody want to speak up on the other? Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Okay, let me continue here. A big thank you to that's not right. I don't know why. That was our sorry. Servion 2 weeks ago. I did update this slide and it didn't change. I don't know why. Okay, but they talked all about how you can make major shifts within 60 days with AI. It was great. It was Bruce Eidsvik. So if you want to replay, now's the time. Two quick quotes. One would be AI is a toddler, teach it, guide it, and keep it away from the sockets. And that's Gary Marcus of Robust AI. And here's one more. AI is great at multitasking and can misunderstand five tasks at once, right? That's what we're kind of seeing today. And that was, of course, anonymous. So we'll continue with these. So Fran, over to you real quick
Is it
for
me or is
tomorrow.
everybody else seeing the results of the of quiz question two still on the screen?
You need to
Oh,
No,
close your
I'm,
little screen.
you're still seeing it?
I'm
No.
not. I'm seeing Fran's high school picture.
Okay.
So am I, but I'm also seeing the other poll on top.
Thank you so much. And yeah, that was a previous company, but we won't mention it anyway.
You haven't
Fran, you're
changed.
getting younger every day. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Steve. Let me just get my glasses here. We do have happy hour every other week. And now that we have these fireside chats every other week, it's like, okay, we get to announce it all the time. But we do get together and catch up, talk about great things, learn stuff. Oh my gosh, like John was saying, we learn something every single time. And then, of course, we do have the little fireside chat cards that Steve gave me a couple Enterprise Connects ago, and we pull those out as well. But we have a lot of fun and learn things. If you want to join us, get our fellow members, please do. Bring a beverage. Sometimes people bring coffee because they're in Australia, but feel free to join us and have some fun. So tomorrow it's so 6 Eastern, so it's 4 o'clock my time in Colorado. But yeah, if you need the invitation, let me know. Thank
And what's the famous tagline there, Fran?
The one that you like to share is kind of
Yeah,
like the Vegas one, right? What
yeah,
happens in happy hour stays in happy hour.
yeah, exactly.
It's members only and or past members because you never know where the conversation's going to go.
Exactly. So, Mike Smith, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Hey, hi, everybody. I just want to give everybody a quick announcement update on the conference. Call for speakers will be out soon, and I will be putting in the chat a access to a website for Grapevine, Texas. And by the way, Grapevine, Texas is the Christmas capital of Texas. So I want everybody to take a look at that and look forward to seeing people at the annual conference.
And
Thanks,
there's
Steve.
some very famous places near there. It's a great property. It's actually one of the two premier properties, according to the Hilton, in Dallas at large. It includes this property is a Hilton DFW Lakes. It's got a lake on the property. It's got walking paths. It's got running paths. It's got pickleball courts. It's got tennis courts. The mall is only 1 mile away. And if anybody has ever heard of Meow Wolf, which is a very famous company out there for attractions, indoor attractions, it's literally 1 mile away. So we're working on potentially something there. But anyway, should be a lot of fun. So
Steve,
Dave,
Roberta,
over to you.
yes. So Steve,
Yeah,
very
Roberta.
briefly, last time I was there, I got convinced to ride one of those artificial bucking bull cows. So there you go.
Hopefully, it was a
Okay.
while ago.
It was a while ago. It was a while ago, Sheila, and I survived.
Because I wouldn't do it today, so I hope you wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't for sure.
Perfect. All right. And Dave, over to you. Is Dave here?
No.
Okay.
The short
Well,
word.
thanks, Dave, for that. And I've already done some introductions here, but yeah, my big takeaway was, amongst other things, there is money available now from the vendor and the client community because money is being poured into AI. So this is a great period in time in 2026 for new members as well as new projects coming up. We just have to move it in that direction. So, Sheila, I know you're going to be very busy, if not already very busy. John, on your side, of course, as well, and Fran and all of us. But yeah, if we just skew it right, there'll be plenty of work for us in 26 and 27. So, all right. So, John, I'm going to stop my share and I'll give you the screen here.
Okay. Apparently, I have to request it.
Oh, sorry. Who's requesting it? Barb, do you own it? Or Tracy, do you own that? Someone
Melinda,
who's
Oh,
the
wait,
owner
now
has to
it
give
came through, so
permission.
someone did something.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So I assume we see the screen.
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Great.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
And in presentation mode. Good job.
Yep. So as we said earlier, this is a redo of a presentation that Sheila and I gave for the 5.9 user community at our CX Summit last November. But as Steve sort of alluded to, AI is certainly here quick and fast. And so this presentation has had a lot of updating since then because the world has changed in the last 3, 4 months. So yeah, we've got news that came out 3 days ago and something I read this morning. So there is all going to be some new stuff in here for everybody to see. So this is kind of our agenda. We're going to talk about the market, AI, and sort of the future, which basically the future no longer exists. It's basically the present. SEO versus GEO. So search engine optimization versus generative engine optimization and how that's going to affect our marketplace. The AI bubble that certainly I hope everyone has read that, about pro or con. Shadow AI is going to pick up. Sheila's going to talk about that, and also meeting like I said, meeting the present because no one's meeting the future right now because the future is 5 minutes from now. So with that, we'll get started. And talk about the market and AI. So in 2025, Five9 did a study about their customers. And so we had 1,000 respondents from our internal customers and sort of finding out what they were talking about and what they were wanting to know. And so these are some of the results from there. Just a quick couple of slides. Has CX experience improved or worsened? Basically a third, a third, a third, right? A third, CX is worse, a third CX is the same, and basically a third CX is better. But interesting on this note, aside from the fact that 4% weren't sure, is that 33% say CX is better. So there are seeing some results from some of the early programs that, traded in the press one, press two IVRs for more automated systems, for more speech recognition and being able to help themselves in self-service, or at least be able to pass that information on to an agent so that there's not so much repetition and things were able to get going a lot quicker with a live agent. So the 33 number is actually pretty decent. I would assume a few years ago that number wouldn't have been as decent. And by the way, this always changes, right? So once you get used to something and then you see somebody else doing something new, suddenly your experience with the other system becomes worse because you see what can be done. I always say, calling American Express is usually one of the better experiences in a contact center and sort of the bar at which you judge, or at least I judge others by. And so that's part of what this reflects as well. Self-service satisfaction, that was on the rise. So again, that third saying it's getting better, but why is it getting better? Speed, 24/7 service. That all goes down to chatbots and voice bots being able to handle more inquiries. Convenience and flexibility. Those types of things are all the top of the market. And again, that's bringing on that AI approach into self-service and having more people, more companies roll that out. It's always funny when you get into something that starts with a voice bot and then suddenly it flashes back to like, oh, we didn't complete the workflow and it's back to, oh, well, and then press two for or manually enter in your account number because they didn't do the whole thing. So I think that's one takeaway for your clients is when you're sort of evaluating AI and evaluating moving off some of these older systems, you have to complete the workflow. You can't, stop mid sentence or whatever, mid process and then go back to the old system. You have to at least complete one workflow end to end to make sure that it's cohesive for the end user. So does channel preference change? Yes, channel preference changes based on situation, 59%. So two-thirds basically are saying that. Why? Because basically what came out of that piece of it is if I'm talking about money, if I'm talking about health, if I'm talking about things that matter, I want to talk to a person. I don't trust the AI to solve a billing issue or to be able to talk to me about healthcare test results, things like that. The more personal or, yeah, more impactful it is to you, the more likely you are to want a person. 30% saying, nope, I want a person no matter what. What's interesting about that is both the US and the UK, not the UK, the US and the EU have got legislation. Of course, the EU is going to come out first. That's going to basically be able to force companies to have something the equivalent to a pound out to get to a live agent. I'm sick of this. Boom, press a button and get me to a live agent, or say something that gets me immediately to a live agent. It's already been implemented in Spain. So far, it's been too new for any research to come out about it, but that's happening in the EU and will roll out over the next year, I believe. And the US, there is legislation on the docket, but who the hell knows when that's going to come about. So those things will change probably when those types of regulations come into effect. So willingness of a customer to engage in AI, 72% interested in trying, interested in using it. 24% say no. Certainly, these numbers vary by age and certainly location. Location meaning not a nursing home, but the US versus Asia versus Europe versus South America, these numbers all change. Young people versus old people, the numbers change. But these are basic, rounded numbers of what people are looking for. Businesses embrace AI. Gartner or Deloitte saying 50% of companies will use agentic AI by 2027. That's like a year away, possibly two with the outside. I think it's probably moving quicker than that. Autonomous resolutions, 80% of common customer issues will be resolved by 2029, says Gartner. Security concerns, everyone's got those. So 96% obviously saying that's a big problem. But the top 10 strategic technology trends, Gartner says, agentic AI and AI governance. So how do I make it and how do I make it work so I won't get sued by doing it? And so those are the topics that are most valuable at this point to end user customers, to your clients. So SEO to geo. And by the way, Sheila and I.
Okay, so Sheila was on mute for a second. Can you go back a slide, John?
Sure. And I was about to say, Sheila and I are good enough at this. If you guys have a question, and just ask it in line. We're happy to answer it. Apparently, Sheila had a question, but was on mute.
No, actually, what I wanted to say is like on autonomous resolutions. Now, I know that I have begun to see that, right? The ability to completely do a return and get a refund. To be honest, for me, Amazon is where the bar is set. So, question for anyone on the call: have any of your customers, your clients started getting to the point where they want to do some of this, complete transactions either within a voice or a text chat? Because 80% is awfully high in 3 years.
Yeah.
You'd almost, yeah.
Yeah, it has to do with basics. We're working for a healthcare provider right now, and they want to fulfill all upfront scheduling or reappointments, if you will, via an autonomous agent, if they can do that. But everybody has the ability to transfer to a live agent, though.
Yeah, so it's happening.
Yeah.
Another voice, Art? Oh, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of, try and bring it home, John.
Okay. And that was good planning because I needed to cough because I came home from Enterprise Connect sick.
Timing was great.
Exactly. So SEO to geo. So this is another piece that's changing.
I wish we could do like poll with people raising their hands or something, because I'll be honest, until October of 2025, I had never heard of generative engine optimization. And yet now, so much has been happening around it.
But we can do? We can do an informal and everybody can do a chat. They can type in, on the side, yes, no. So if you want to ask a yes, no question, that's kind of an easy way to do it.
So anybody who is, if you have not heard of GEO before today, let us know.
My wife is raising her hand in the background.
Well, not heard of, not heard of. Yeah, and no shame in it, I'll tell you. Things like this are happening. I have heard of it. No, yeah. So it's a good thing to be talking about. So we'll walk through it a little bit. Go ahead, Jeff.
Okay. So we'll talk about the differences. So search engine optimization is what we should all understand from the basic web that we deal with, right? So it's how do I get my product, my company, my whatever to the top of search results inside the major search engines. And that's been going on for a while. And so the reason SEO is important not only is to get your business to the top, but also for the search engines, it's advertising revenue. How do I promote businesses? How do I charge for that process? And so that's part of what search engine optimization does for the search engine. It also then obviously benefits the company, but there is a commerce there. Then we move into geo. And so generative kind of like blows off that sort of like walled garden of you pay us, we'll do this, and you'll get a better position. This is all changed with generative. Generative doesn't utilize data the same way that search engines do. So this is a series of events that happened in the last like 4 or 5 months. So in 11 of 2024, so more than 4 or 5 months ago, but anyway, Perplexity Shopping, a product that was a search tool for completing in Perplexity purchases. And so that came out in 11 of 2024. So you could go into your Perplexity account and use it as a personal assistant and say, I'm looking for, shoes that go with, a tuxedo. And it will then provide you with options. And then you can complete that purchase within Perplexity from wherever that site may be. So whether it's AWS or, sorry, Amazon or wherever, you can do that. But in the past month, this is not the past month, sorry, I didn't update that. This happened in October and November of last year. Google and Meta announced privacy changes that enable them to capture Gemini and Llama session data to fuel geo ad sales. So prior to that, they weren't really harnessing the large language models to be able to utilize them as part of their ad platform. Both of them have announced those changes. There are people fighting back, and it has been sort of stopped on the second update, which was in WhatsApp from Meta. But the other app privacy change that happened in mid-December, that did happen. And so they can just farm all the information of your use of their large language models, chatbots, to be able to fuel ads. And so that matters because it gives them additional data points. It gives them additional things to sell. It gives them a way to sell what is called intent. So let's say you're at the grocery store, right? And you're making dinner and you've got everything planned out and you're going to make a salad and you're standing in front of a wall of salad dressing and you're like, what goes with this? And so you get your little personal assistant out and go, hey, Gemini or Alexa, I'm making this dinner. What's a good salad dressing to go with that? Now, basically, it should say, in theory, salad dressings that go with that. But what happens if you have Wishbone is an advertiser, but Newman's Own isn't? It will promote the Wishbone brand before the other one. It won't tell you to buy it per se, but it will certainly push you in that direction. And so that's what you're seeing, this pulling of data from conversations with chatbots. You're seeing them able to monetize that. And you actually saw in February of this year when Meta came out with their financial results, their latest results, they talked about how AI was starting to perform in the advertising space. And the next day, their stock went up. Microsoft, by the way, reported the same week and said AI is doing great and did not have a data point in there about how AI was starting to pay some dividends. Their stock went down. Both companies had good quarters. And most analysts attributed to the fact that Google or whatever Meta was showing progress in AI revenue generation and Microsoft wasn't. And so this is becoming very important. And you can think, okay, what does that have to do with contact center? Contact centers are the result sometimes of campaigns that result from advertising that bring in those contacts. And so how that advertising world plays out not only is important for your clients themselves and their own businesses, but how they attract and use customers. So also that happened, in November, Walmart announced purchase completions within ChatGPT. Other apps, Spotify, Canva, Figma, Booking.com, all those added specific connectors into ChatGPT. PayPal announced buy with PayPal button on ChatGPT, which would be coming the first half of this year. Sierra announced chatbot integration with ChatGPT. TikTok announced their own chatbot for businesses that they could build upon. So you can't bring a third-party chatbot into TikTok, but they'll give you the tools to build your own. So what does all this mean? Basically, take it back to the first thing I was saying about Google and Meta. How do I monetize this data, this usage of these large language models? And so business is going to provide some of that revenue generation, but advertising is going to be a huge piece of it. Retail is going to be a huge piece of it. So when you think about talking to your clients, yes, this is all important, but for your clients, it's also important because if I am Walmart, I'm going to also be an advertiser looking for those intents so that I can get my product promoted first. But also, once the customer makes that Walmart decision, I want ChatGPT to be able to, in essence, transfer that transaction to my bot, to be able to do the transaction within my platform, to get them, into my world. And that's what these partnerships with ChatGPT are talking about. And Sierra taking it more generically, saying, we've integrated our chatbot technology into ChatGPT. So anyone using a Sierra bot can then have a way to tunnel into ChatGPT to produce that handover between a ChatGPT conversation and a retailer or some other business. So it becomes important, but it's not just chat. So since then, in the red, multiple CCaaS vendors have announced connections into ChatGPT and Gemini. Some of those are voice. And so this past, I think it was the fourth quarter or third quarter of last year, the users on ChatGPT who were using a voice interface versus typing in questions was over 50% using voice. So everyone kept saying voice was dead. Voice is back with a vengeance because of these chatbots. People are talking to them. So you have to have your not only chatbot tied into it, you have to have a voice bot handover as well. And so that's what all of that talks about. So this becomes a very important conversation point for your clients.
Yeah, isn't that very interesting, John? What I heard a few years ago, voice is dead, right? Sheila,
Of
you heard
course.
that too. And not,
Right. Now, traditional telephone calls may be
oh,
less
you're on the
important.
mute there, Sheila.
We even have Salesforce on board. The
Right.
guys, their CTO told me about 5 years ago, we're not interested in CCaaS. It's not an
Mhm.
interesting question. Suddenly it became interesting to him.
Well, they
So,
just did the announcement at Enterprise Connect, right? They're
right.
now in the CCAS space, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So my quote, and so quote me as you will, large language model chatbots and AI assistants to me will do to website traffic what websites did to the
Mm,
yellow pages.
mm.
So go find a yellow pages out there. It'll be in the Antiques Roadshow. Um, and so think about that. With website development, are a lot of consumers going to still go to websites to do things? Sure. But are a lot of people just going to use a large language model chatbot or their own personal AI assistant, otherwise
Mhm.
sometimes called a digital twin, to be able to
Yeah.
complete those transactions?
Yeah,
So
actually that's a challenge that a lot of the retailers are now having, as
exactly.
far as yeah, I heard that a few
Yeah.
times.
And there was something that came out that I read yesterday in the Times. I haven't had a chance to read it fully. There's a an app in China called I forget what it's something Claw. And what basically it is, it's an application for consumers. They load up everything they want to do into this chatbot, and the chatbot autonomously takes care of everything they want done. Whether it's paying a bill or ordering groceries or whatever the heck it is, it automatically does it all. But they're also now seeing huge security issues, which the consumers don't seem to really care about because it's convenient, but they're also seeing misuse. So the AI assistant, the claw thing is not exactly perfect. One guy they were talking about said, yeah, I set up all this stuff and then it charged everything on my credit card until it was maxed out. And so that's not good. So certainly early technology, but at least in China, this thing is there, and it went in like 3 or 4 months to being one of the top 10 downloaded applications in the country. So that's something to be, thinking about as well. So far, not so much here. By the way, I'm seeing the chat bop down, and I don't have, the ability to kind of do that and talk at the same time. So if you have a question, just shout it out.
Somebody said open claw, so sort of
There
like
you go. Yeah.
open
And-
AI.
Yep.
Okay.
Good catch.
Okay, so we're
So
going
let's
to
hand it over to
pop to
Sheila.
Sheila. So I have spoken to a few of the vendors about this and asking them where they're going. And specifically, I remember asking Pasquale De Maio, who is the product lead for Amazon Connect, and he said, we don't think of this as an issue where we're going to get involved with the LLM assistance, right? What we're going to do is help businesses to be able to take those interactions. So, as John was saying, these are the things we're talking about: Perplexity, Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, acting as a front end, just like an IVR would be, just like a chatbot on a website would be. And the user expresses intent, again, as John was saying. So the workflow is implemented in the same CCAS stack. It's just getting that intent passed to the CCAS. So if you go to the next slide, so I mean, yeah, obviously the customer is doing research and all that. So initially, OpenAI positioned something they had as instant checkout as native in-chat purchasing for US users, but it's now shifting to just connecting to apps, right? So they're trying to just keep ChatGPT focused on discovery. And I think that's a little bit less intrusive, if you want to go out to the Amazon app, if you want to go out to the Lululemon app, we've given you the research and we'll give you the connection. So if you have a customer who's saying, okay, maybe I care about this, maybe my particular product or service is one where people are, getting information about it in one of these LLM assistants, you would use the ChatGPT app or plugin, right? There'd be a talk to an agent, button or plug, and that will then call the CCAS or the CPaaS backend and essentially just launch a phone or a WebRTC session, right? So that would be on the voice side. But the interesting part is it's not just launching it. Just like you would do transferring from a chatbot to a live agent, it's going to send a payload of the conversation, the user profile, what they know about intent, what we said were the shortlisted products. So into the CRM and CCAS, so the human or the AI voice agent doesn't have to re-ask basic questions. And I think it's great that they're already thinking about, right, the connection to the live agent. They're not just assuming this is all going to be, without CCAS in the loop. Next slide. And that would be you, John.
I know, but it wasn't
That's
moving.
okay. That's okay. As John said, every day we're hearing new information about
Mhm.
this activity of what's happening with the generative engine optimization and activity. And just what's happening in terms of lawsuits, some of which John talked about. Amazon won an injunction against Perplexity to block them from scraping their website. It's like, no, 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 you don't get to come into my website and then recommend those products because then I don't know where you are going to go and send my, customers with my information. And the judge ruled that Amazon had provided really good evidence that that's what Perplexity was doing, because everybody thinks of the internet as not having, you know, any of the protections on their information. So
Mm.
it's all heating up, is the point. And so I would it would be an interesting conversation to have with a client who is thinking about chatbots, who has perhaps the appropriate, probably retail is the first place where this is going to happen. So if some of you have retail clients, what do you think, John? What are some of the other possibilities of people who would be more
It's
apt?
certainly right. So certainly at this point, it's retail because it seems to be mostly aimed so far at consumers. So to the thing that I had said earlier about WhatsApp and their whatever making privacy changes, the WhatsApp privacy change that was semi-blocked in January was WhatsApp blocking third-party LLM chatbots from utilizing WhatsApp. Now,
Ah,
they're not blocking companies from having their own chatbot using whatever WhatsApp business, but they're blocking OpenAI. They're blocking, Anthropic. Why? Because they don't want to have a blind transaction. And the same thing to me here with Perplexity. The end the end retailer doesn't want a blind transaction because they lose the customer data that goes along with it. So Amazon wants you to use their chatbot, wants you to use their AI assistant. Meta wants you to do the same thing. Both of them have heavy stakes in that marketplace to gather and sell data on ad platforms. So for the consumer, this is going to be a pain in the neck at the way this is going now, that you're going to have 27 different chatbots for yourself to be able to interact with these companies. And I don't think that's a situation that will hold. But at the
Yeah,
moment,
but at the end of the day, I think it's the responsibility of the CCAS vendors to make sure that they treat this as a channel, that they
correct.
make it easy for
Mhm.
people who want to do it. And I think I'm hearing from the CCAS vendors that that's exactly what they're doing.
Right.
You think about somebody like Ring Central, who has 20 different channels. They know how to add channels. And so to the extent that, they think their customer base is ready for this, and even on the low end, this could be happening. Pizza shops, if you
Right.
have a local pizza shop, this could become relevant.
I mean, at this point, the interesting piece is going to come down to the technology. I mean, you look at WhatsApp, and most businesses have got WhatsApp on the chat side. Very few in the contact center space support voice. In fact, I can name you two, because voice is difficult. Most people use because the audio that comes out of that platform, out of WhatsApp, is not like SIP audio. It's nothing that's recognizable. So there actually needs to be a middleware black box, if you will, that takes that audio and translates it into SIP so that contact center platforms can understand it. So I think some of that is also what's going to happen on the chat side, because I don't think the LLM chatbots per se are going to be passing over instantly readable information. I think there's probably going to wind up being some translation there, and certainly probably on the voice side, because I don't think those systems were built for the same types of interfaces that we use. But we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, contact center customers or companies, as well as their customers, are going to figure this out.
I just had a quick example that I was astounded on. Some of you know, I went through a move, and there's this one-man shop moving guy. He's in his late 20s. His whole business, it's all hosted services. It was the most well done with a combination, like he used AI and chat and he gathered the inventory and the pricing, and it was the least painful coordinated move. And this, young guy just invested in technology. I mean, his movers were terrible and broke a whole bunch of my stuff. But
Mm.
but the booking part and the payment and everything was amazing. And he's a new guy, but he just said, I'm putting my money into technology instead of office clerks and other things. So as I said, one man shop. So it is happening.
And
Yeah.
so
Back to
many of
you.
these tools are no code, that you can actually type in what you want to do in plain English and they'll spit out the code for you. So yeah, the tools to use this stuff are becoming very easy to use.
Agreed.
So we're halfway through our slides, John. We either pick up the pace.
Yeah, okay, fine. Well, they were chit-chatting in the beginning. If we go over 5 minutes, no one's going to
I'm
care.
just saying. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
So I'll quickly hit on the bubble piece as well. I mean,
Hit the
everyone's have
bubble.
to, yeah, everyone has to have read about it. There's two places to me it's going to come from. It's either the financing is going to start to pull back, or there's going to be disenchantment by users. Basically, it's not showing a payoff. Um, what do you do? What's your best advice to give to clients? Seek use cases with the highest ROI. Map use case cost components. Does it need to be natural language processing, or does it need a full LLM? Big deal. There are chargeable components to that make differences. And it's funny, there's one thing also that I was reading, the piece I read this morning was on this company, Cloud Eagle. And so Cloud Eagle has announced a product that is actually, for all intents and purposes, a billing platform for AI. It will track AI usage across multiple platforms and translate their billing tokens, pennies, whatever it is, into actual monetary amounts so that you can keep track of it in pretty much real time about what you're using.
Mm.
I think given the proliferation of these tools and the differences in how they bill, there's some juice there, I think, for people to figure out how much is the AI costing.
Mm.
So questions to ask any vendor you would use, not just us. Timmy, are you profitable? Are you a profitable business? How close to profitability are you? We all read about every single day there's a new AI startup coming on the boards.
Hmm.
Would they survive any type of bubble? I actually read a thing yesterday about a company that was launched last year in 2025. They had $1,000 was their ARR by the end of the year, and they got financing. Is that going to survive any kind of financial pullback in AI? No. So you can't expose your clients to those types of risks. And they may come back and say, oh, well, but it's the best thing since sliced bread. And it might be. The bigger vendors tend to be slower because they have more balls in the air to have to keep track of. But in the long run, if you wind up changing it out, in a year, you didn't save any money. And you didn't save any features because the bigger guys probably caught up anyway. So how much cash do they have? What's their burn rate? What's their exit strategy? I say this all the time. What is your exit strategy? Are you here to be acquired? Are you trying to stay private, or are you trying to go IPO? And kind of depending on that answer, that's another reason why maybe you shy away. If I want to be acquired, that timetable has to be within, 18 months probably. Stay private, they better have some damn good revenues and the ability to do that without a heck of a lot more financing. IPO, just run away. I mean, we've all seen the stock market lately for these kind of things.
Mm.
Anyone wanting to go IPO is just insane. But only after you figure out their business, then you can talk about the technology. And so you look at all these things on the right, The Guardian, invisible data centers and capricious chips. Is UK's AI bubble about to burst? Oracle and OpenAI end plans to expand flagship data center because the chips were too old. CEOs say, yeah, it might be a bubble, but they're going to keep shoveling money into the furnace because all their friends are. I mean, there is certainly blood in the water here. And it's something you need to, in some ways, protect or at least warn your clients of or keep them informed of. So this is what, to me, disenchantment looks like. This is out of a report that Gartner gave in December last year of at what point does AI become more expensive than the human? And it's an interesting report. If you can get a hold of it, it's kind of cool. It basically says if the LLMs actually had to become profitable businesses, what would happen to the price, the usage costs for these AI models? And they said they would explode. They said they could go up by 10 times. If that's the case, again, go back to those, the highest ROI AI is probably has the most longevity. But also, depending on the amount of automation, they're saying that depending on the amount of automation, the usage-based costs may outpace what you're saving on employee costs. And so that's where that tool, that Cloud Eagle tool comes in, is to be able to utilize a tool like that and to be able to map against it. Certainly you can do it, by hand, but it's interesting that there are now tools coming out to figure some of that stuff out. Oh, and debt to me replaces Moore's law. Moore's law, it's going to double every whatever. The debt. So literally these data centers are being built on the strength of the company buys the chips and uses them as collateral for the loan to build the data center. It's insane.
House of cards. House of cards.
House of cards. And there's like $700+ billion in commitments for data centers by 2027. It's incredibly insane. So there is some danger out there. And again, it's up to you guys to advise clients and stuff to be cautious. Not stupid. I mean, don't do nothing, but be cautious. So again, back to the ROI models. Figure out what are the best use cases, what offers the least exposure to this kind of issue. And so is it informational? Does that something, like I said, like an NLP type application? Is it something that's actionable? Is it something that's agentic? How much do you need these? What's the ROI on them? And using tools that can help them measure that. I think now, pass it back over to Sheila for what sounds like a 50s TV show, The Shadow Knows.
So, shadow AI, again, a phrase that probably just about a year ago I had never heard. So what is it? It's employees using personal, AI accounts in their work. Okay. So 40% of companies say that they have purchased an official LLM subscription, like Microsoft Copilot or whatever. But 90% of workers say that they're using personal tools. So obviously there is a disconnect between what the companies think that is happening and what's actually happening. Next slide.
It's like the companies that say my customer service is like 80%, and then they're whatever survey say it's 40.
So this data is from Zendesk, and when you have the PDF, that's a link to the entire survey, a customer survey that Zendesk did. To me, this is great data because it's very specific to contact center, agents using Gen AI tools not provided. And again, the biggest part, 52% say they're using it often, another 41% very often. 93% are using it. Okay. And then look at the difference between 24 and 25. Just the jump from somewhere in the 10s to 20% of people doing it to way over, into 50, 70%. And it's funny. Sometimes people say, well, but that's not happening in financial services, or that's not happening in healthcare. Well, it could be a little lower there, but it is still happening there. Next slide.
Everybody has a personal cell phone.
Exactly. Well, and you can't prevent agents from having them. So why do workers use shadow AI? And note that like the last survey was about agents, But some of the things I'm talking about are broader across the enterprise because this isn't just a contact center issue. This is a unified communications issue as well, right?
Mm.
So those of you who are just, selling Zoom, selling Ring Central, I'll get to the point where I say, what does this mean for those customers? Um, I'm going to get to the punchline because we don't have much time. To me, the punchline is that this is already happening. Companies can't ignore it. I have done a
Mm.
couple of presentations where we have asked, where I've asked an audience, it was at the Verint user group meeting, and John and I did, you know, are contact center managers seeing this happening? And they are. It is happening. So the question is, what do you do about it? So you're seeing here why, workers are using it because it's fast and it gives them good results. Next slide. And again, I have a link to this study. Um, but what it's doing is it's putting companies at risk, right? The data is going into ChatGPT. 27%, a quarter say, yeah, I've shared employee data. I've shared data sets. My husband's company found somebody was like popping, their Salesforce sales data into something to create graphs for them into, one of the LLM models. This is a problem. Okay, next slide. So what do you do about the problem? Um, this is a great article. When I first started talking to the editor of Lisa of No Jitter, Lisa, she just really jumped on this topic, was very interested in it, sort of personally, and I thought this was a fascinating sort of way to think about it. If it's happening in your business, right? If you have a customer who says, "Yeah, I've got this problem and it's a little out of control,"
Okay, yeah, yeah, give me about 5 minutes, thanks.
what hap what you do instead of just trying to, the world is the roof is falling in, is you figure out what they're using it for and then figure out a better way to give them what they need, right? That could be a Zoom assistant, that could be Microsoft Copilot, in a controlled enterprise environment. But if they're using it, there's a reason why. There's something missing in what they want to do. Next slide. And as John said, this stuff is happening every day, right? Articles being written about this. And so just 2 days ago, No Jitter had another article about shadow AI. And this one is interesting about how governance is lagging. And so even with some of the UC tools, like from Zoom, like from Ring Central, we have to make sure we're asking the questions, just like John said earlier, ask the vendor questions about, is this part of the trust layer? How is this being managed and controlled? What guardrails can we put on the use of even, these platform-based tools? Next slide. This is another good article. So, meeting the present. Everybody's heard about this study, right? 95% of AI pilots fail and didn't go to production. If you actually read it, read the study, it's it's not this, everything is failing kind of thing. Um, there's lots of reasons why these projects didn't go into production. There was bad integration. This one is interesting to me. Investment being misplaced. A lot of companies think, let me put this in sales and marketing. I can make money there. I'll close sales. Instead of higher ROI back office automation. I mean, if you think
Mm.
about where the bottlenecks are, the
Hmm.
bottlenecks are not in the 3 minutes an agent spends on the phone. The bottleneck is in the 4 weeks it takes to ship the product that should go out in a day or so. Okay. Another, reason why they fail is low organizational AI literacy, right? And I think one of the reasons to have, sessions like this is just to raise our own literacy, right? I mean, I know I'm one of those old people, right, on Medicare. I have to actively make sure that I'm reading the articles that we see, that we're talking to the vendors and asking them questions about how they're incorporating AI, because the onus is on us to be those trusted advisors for the companies that we deal with. Next slide. So I'm just going to step through these, addressing the reasons for failure. There are ways that we can do this. Poor tools, let's use native tools to the contact center. Sales and marketing is the wrong place. Let's do agent assist. Let's do workflow automation as the first AI steps. You know, Companies have to start thinking about reevaluating AI training for agents, for supervisors, for managers. The good news on that one is a lot of vendors have free content. Salesforce has it, Cisco has it. Yeah, I know Genesis has some good training stuff. So it's easy to say, go get training, but it's nicer to say, I've looked at these vendors' free offerings, and these are some of the things you could incorporate into the training that you're doing for your agents. Next slide.
And 5.9 has some too.
Yeah, well, that's your job to say, not mine. Um, Again, for contact center leaders, bringing this back, start small, invest in training, demand transparency from your vendor. How does this work? Make them explain it. Keeping this phrase top of mind, keep humans in the loop. Even things that are autonomous have to have ways for humans to get to humans and for there to be human oversight. Next slide. Popular starting points, AI as a co-pilot, intelligent routing, right? I mean, for years, I remember when skills-based routing came out, it was like 92, 93. It took about 10 years for us to get decent adoption in contact centers. But for years, we've really needed a better solution to really better fit agents to what the customer needed. And AI is actually a great use case for intelligent routing. And then continuously agent upskilling with, agent assist type applications. Next slide. I think it's time to throw it back to Steve and let him do his wrap up.
No, this is great stuff. I can't
Okay.
get enough of it.
Excellent, excellent. So
yeah,
I think this may be my last one, which is
yeah, go
just
right ahead, Sheila. Sure,
yeah,
please.
last one. The thing we haven't talked about yet is AI agents talking to AI agents, right? Me saying to my Alexa, can you go to my auto dealer and schedule me an appointment for sometime next week, first thing in the morning to have my car, repaired or whatever. Agent to agent, right? I think we're still very much in the early days of it, but it's apparently already happening in some businesses like insurance, where insurance companies are being bombarded at some level by agents coming in and asking them questions. So, it's sort of like the next layer here is going to be your customers, your retail customers, your insurance bank customers, taking calls from agents that are personal agents. I might have one, you might have one, and then having their agents respond to those. So this stuff is happening faster than we can think about it.
And
Shopify, Amazon, Google, they're all building these consumer shopping agents.
there's another wrinkle to agent as well. It's company agent to another company agent. So being able to think about every time an agent has to, what I will call swivel their chair to see a different screen. Maybe there is an agentic agent that's talking to an agentic agent that's part of that screen, meaning
Like, going off to FedEx to figure out.
exactly,
Yeah.
right. And so
It
there's
could be
that as
agent to
well.
agent. Yeah.
Right. So all of this is all coming about quicker than we would probably like, but it's coming.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'll just defer real quick to what are cat years? They're not dog years. They're not 7 years in 1 year. Cat years are actually 24 years in the first 24 months.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
and then it settles down. So yeah, I actually pulled an entire audience at Enterprise Connect and nobody knew it. So it's just one
Well,
of
it's
those
even
one.
like dogs. Everybody thinks dogs are just 7 years for every one human, but
Yeah.
the first year is 14 years.
Oh, it is 14. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well,
think
well,
about it.
AI
A
is.
dog gets to adolescence in 1 year.
Oh, wow. Well, definitely we're seeing that with AI for sure. We can't Well, yeah, we just can't. It's changing dramatically every month. It's almost another year every month. Well,
Well, like
John
we
and
said,
she, yeah,
we
go
gave
ahead,
this
John.
presentation in November and it's markedly changed since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and that's less than 6 months. Wow,
Right.
amazing.
Yep.
Well, Sheila, John, thank you so much for doing this. As Barb shared, I want to go watch this again and listen to this again. It was fantastic. It really
And
was.
if you guys have questions about it, after viewing it or whoever's going to view this later, you can just send an email. My
Sure.
email is pretty easy. It's john.anderson@five9.com. And I'll do my best to answer whatever questions you may have or give you whatever resources you can, might require that I have.
Great. And
And
of
as
course,
I said, any of the reports that I referenced are in the PDF with a hyperlink.
oh, excellent. All right. Well, super job. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to have you back again. We'll rope you in again soon.
Thank you for the engagement. I loved watching all the chat coming in. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Awesome
Appreciate it.
job.
Have a great
Thank
week.
you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Here, everybody.